Okay, I'm just waiting to check if I am going to show live. Right, looks like we are live. Hello everyone and welcome to our Saturday live show. So today we are talking about 5 ways to become a better web designer. Now this, in my opinion, is one of those important topics because if you don't get these fundamentals right, your web design career or the website you're trying to design will not look as good. So these fundamental things that I'll be going through today are very, very important if you want to make your web designs look better, or if you want to go into web design, this is definitely going to make you a better web designer. Okay, so I can see here, in fact, if you're wondering why I have a jacket on, I was rushing today, just came into the office, and forgot to switch the heating on, so that's why I'm wearing this jacket. Anyway, guys, so there's a few things I'm going to start off with. So if you're new to the channel, I would say go ahead and subscribe because I'll be producing a lot more tips and tutorials to help you become better web designers. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about here is contrast. Okay, so before I can start talking about the contrast and what contrast is, I just want to go to a website that I frequent to most of the time so I can show you what I mean by that. Okay, so I can see already we have people joining us on the show. Thank you very much. In fact, let me give a shout out. So here we have, and again, please forgive me if I pronounce your names wrong. Okay, so Rifat, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Francisco, how are you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Naresh Chaudhry. We also have Sids Maya, or Naya, sorry. He says, I love Divi. Hey, I love Divi too. Michael Dennison, thanks for tuning in. I think you were on the show last week. And again, thank you very much for tuning in. And Savizi WordPress. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, but yeah, correct me if I am wrong. Okay, right, so he's saying take off your coat. Hey Michael, I was just saying I came into the office and the night before I actually forgot to switch on the heating, so it's a bit freezing in here. We also have Anis Raza. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We also have Umar Siddiqui from Toronto. Awesome. All right, thank you very much for tuning in. Okay, let's start off with the show. In fact, before I get started, I'd like to say this show is about my tips on how to become a better web developer or web designer, sorry. So the first thing I was going to talk about is contrast. So I'm just going to pull up a website here, which I frequent a lot, so I can show you what I mean by that. And this website is Netflix. Okay. Right, so this has a lot of the examples that we'll be discussing today. So I'm just going to switch over and show you my desktop. So here I am on netflix.com. So the first thing I'm discussing here is contrast, okay? Now the reason why contrast is very, very important is because you want to make sure that whatever you're communicating is actually communicating very well. So your imagery and your text is not really competing against each other. So you can see here, this video playing in the background, we can read clearly what is here on this description, okay? And then here, again, if I come to the bottom here, we have the same thing, Mindhunter. We can read this very, very clearly, okay? And then, I mean, in fact, you can see this, red 2. So what they've done here, if they've chosen to have the picture here, and then here on the left, the writing, okay? So all this is actually well thought of. And again, it's actually communicating what they're trying to do here. Now, let me show you in Photoshop how you can actually achieve this. Okay, so I'm going to switch off my tab here and go to Photoshop. So I'm just going to switch over here. And let's go over here to my Photoshop. Right, so, oh, I've got the wrong screen on. Here we are. Okay, so here I am in Photoshop. In fact, that's the wrong view because my video here is obstructing what I need to show you. So I'm going to go back here to desktop and let's change that. Okay, fantastic. So here I am in Photoshop. So here we have an image. So this is what you'd normally do if you want to design an image for your hero images on your website. So you may want to add some text here. So let's say we add some text, okay? 10% off on all stock. Now, we can see here that this does not really communicate very, very well, mainly because our text is light and our background is a bit light as well. So your visitors coming to your website will not be able to really read this clearly. And this is why sometimes when people land on your website, sometimes they can leave the page because it's not easy to navigate, it's not easy to read, the message is not clear enough. So I'm going to show you now tips on how you can make this contrast work for you. Okay, so the first thing is you can add a background to that, okay? Like that. So I've just added a background. So let me just resize this like that. Okay, so now I've actually added a background to the 10%. Okay, so I'm going to drag it below the text like that. Now, do you see that just by doing that little slight change, this has changed how this looks already? Now, if I do a before and after, before, after. Yep. So, if you agree with me that this is now much, much better, please add a 1 in the comments box. Let me know what you think. Do you agree that just making that slight difference, that has made a change to how that page is communicating? Okay, Michael says yes. TU says I'm off from Divi for a week now. Oh, so what happened there? TU. Okay, I'd like to hear what happened. Why are you off Divi? Anyway, we have Julio from Venezuela. Thanks a lot for tuning in. That is awesome. Greetings from Bosnia. Ranko, thank you for tuning in. Douglas from Scotland. Oh, wow, not too far from me. I'm here in Birmingham, United Kingdom, so that's good to hear. Awesome, awesome. Right, I can see a lot of ones here. Awesome. So I'm glad that you can agree with me that by adding that, it is actually communicating very well. Now, something has happened here. Oh, okay. OBS was offline, so I thought maybe I was cut off. So anyway, that is working. Now, let's move on to the next example. So I'm going to go back to my desktop here. And let's talk about something else we can do here on Photoshop. So that's one example that you can do contrast. Now, let me show you something else you can do instead of adding this background here. So I'm going to disable that. I'm going to come back in here, add a new layer. So what I'm going to do with that layer is I am just going to add a gradient. So I'm going to come over here and choose my gradient like that. And then I'm going to start my gradient from the bottom going up like that. Okay. So I've just added my gradient. So now I'm going to come over to my text and I'm going to place my text right here. So in fact, what we could do for this to show much better is we can actually go into the text here and add this all in one line like that. Okay, so let's make this all the same size as well. So this actually looks better. Okay, so that's my size. I'm going to increase that. Right. Okay, so I'm going to add this here now. Okay, so I'm going to do another before and after. So here, if I do a before, you can see, I mean, it's actually not really, it doesn't really look good. But as soon as we add that gradient, now it looks much better. It's classy. You can read that much, much clearer. And this is a better way of actually using your text on top of your images. Again, if you agree with me, just add a 1 in the comments box so I can see that we're all on the same page. Okay, so these things that I'm doing here in Photoshop can also be achieved when you use DIVI. Okay, so what I'll do is at a later stage during this presentation, I will show you how to actually achieve this in using DIVI. So this is actually quite straightforward to achieve in DIVI. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize this for now. Okay, so that is how we use our contrast when we work with our designs. Okay, so let's take a look here and okay. I can't pronounce this. We have Renac. He puts 4 ones. That's awesome, awesome, awesome. Right, I can see a lot of ones. Fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what you need to do when you design your website. Right. Okay. So that's contrast. And as I mentioned before, this is also done by all these top companies that you see online. That's the technique they use to make their designs look professional, make them really look awesome. Okay, so make sure you use that contrast in a good way. Right. The next thing I want to talk about now is color. Okay, now color is very, very important. Now, often I get to review quite a lot of websites, and one of the main things that breaks the whole design, even if you use very good typography and you use very good pictures, what breaks it is the use of color. Now, color is very, 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 very important, and if you miss this, it really makes your website look amateurish. Okay, so now let me show you what I do, because the techniques I'm showing you here is what I do in my designs, and this is what I've learned over a long period of time, being a freelance and owning my own design agency. Now, before I go on to color, I would like to say if you're brand new to my YouTube channel, I would recommend that you subscribe, because by subscribing, you'll be notified every time I release new videos. And I often release videos similar to this, where I teach people and I share my knowledge on web design and how to design awesome looking websites. And also, if you're brand new and you'd like to learn how to design websites using WordPress, which is what I recommend, I have an absolutely 100% free course. So right now, go to diviuniversity.com and sign up for that WordPress course. It's 100% free. And also, if you'd like to learn how to use Divi, I have a course which has a 50% discount. Yes, that's right, 50% discount. You're only going to get this course for about $123. It normally goes for $247. And this link is only active for 24 hours. So make sure when you go to diviuniversity.com, you sign up for the course. Okay, so let's move on to color. So when it comes to color, there are ways to use color. So let me just show you my desktop here. So when it comes to color, you have to make sure you choose colors using the right harmonies. And what I mean by that is, in fact, let me go to Adobe, the Adobe website. So I think it's color.adobe.com. All right, let me just search for that. Color.adobe.com. Okay, so these are the two websites I go to. So it's coolers.co and colors.adobe.com. So these are the color rules that I'm talking about. So there's analogous colors. So these are colors pretty much on the same sort of spectrum. We have monochromatic. So these are the colors which are pretty much on that same line. In fact, let me add my camera here so you can see me as I'm speaking. Right. We also have triad. So these are the color harmonies that you need to use when you design your websites. And this is how you choose them, okay? Complementary colors. So these are colors that are opposite the color wheel. So as you turn this around, you can see that all these colors are changing. But as these colors are changing, these colors definitely work well because they follow a system, okay? So this is where now you can start creating your color palettes and you can start adjusting the colors that you need. Okay, now when I used the color wheel from Adobe, it was a bit fiddly. I didn't like how to use it. So I found a website which I am going to share with you today, and this is called colors.co. Okay, so this is how you generate your colors. All you have to do is to click on start the generator like that. So, okay, so the generator is now loading. So all you have to do now is to press the space bar. So you can just keep pressing the space bar and this automatically generates color palettes for you. Okay, so you can see here as I'm clicking these, this is fantastic. And the good thing about this is you can actually go in and make some minor adjustments. So if I come here to this adjustment, I can click here, make this color a bit darker if I wanted to, go on to the next one. Okay, make this slightly lighter. Okay, so you can see here all these adjustments that I'm making are pretty cool, like that. Okay, so this is how you choose your color palettes. So again, a technique that I'm going to share with you, which is very, very important when you choose color palettes, is make sure you have a really dark color and a really light color. Now, the reason why you may want to do this is as you're designing your websites, you want to make sure, as we mentioned in the first example, the contrast, your light color has to be on top of the dark background or the other way around. If you have a dark background, you need to have light text. And I'm going to show you this in Divi. In fact, now that we have our colors here, I am going to go into Divi and show you how these colors would work well together. Okay? So, in fact, before I move on to Divi, let me hear from the audience how you guys, if you have used these kind of resources before. If you've used these resources before, just please add a 1 into the comments. And if you have any that you recommend, please also add them in the comments box below. I'd like to share with everybody else. But these are the 2 that I use, and the one that I have here on screen is my favorite one. So let me see what you guys have used as well. Okay, so I can see a lot of 1s here. Awesome. Sid adds a question mark. Sid says, can we develop a website like Netflix using Divi? Yes, absolutely. You can design a website that looks like Netflix with Divi. Hello, bro. How are you? This is Technical Plays. Hey, I'm good. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Really appreciate that. Awesome. I see a lot of 1s here. That is awesome. So do you use any of these websites to generate your colors? If you do, just share them in the comments box below so we can share with everybody else. Oh, in fact, I've got a question here. Douglas says, I don't have Photoshop, but I do have Flash 8 and Fireworks 8. Yes, Flash, I've used Flash before, but if you don't know yet, Flash has been discontinued, so you have to be aware of that. And to be honest, I haven't really used Fireworks 8. I've only used Photoshop and Illustrator. But I'm sure it has all the tools that can help you choose your colors correctly or even adjust your images. Okay, so Michael says no, but going to. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, make sure you use these websites because this is what really makes your websites look professional. Now, let me show you how you can actually use this color palette that we've just created from colors.co into Divi. Okay, so I'm just going to switch off my camera so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to just drag this over here to my website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new page. So I'm going to come over here, click on Add New, and I'll just call this page Colors, like that. Use the Divi Builder, use Visual Builder. Okay, so what we're going to do here is just something very basic. So I'm going to click this plus button here to add our columns, like that. And our 2 columns, one of them is going to have an image. So I'm going to add my image here, upload my image. Now I already have my image in the background, so I'm just going to add my in my media library. So I'm going to add my image like that. I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add some text in here like that. So my text is just going to be some basic text. Let's go to lorem ipsum. Now, the reason why I use this dummy text is because I find it very challenging to type because I'm not very good at typing fast. So that's why I just use this. And it's also good for demo purposes as well, because then you don't have to wait and see me, typing this, because that really wastes a lot of time. Okay, so this is going to be my heading text. I'm going to add it here like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into design, go into our heading text, and I'm going to choose later for this and all caps. Okay, that's fine as it is. And then I'm just going to add some spacing to the top. So I'm going to add a padding of, let's say, 30 or maybe even 40. Okay, right, so I've got my text in there. I'm just going to go ahead now. In fact, before I save, let me go ahead and save. So I've got my text in here. Now I'm going to come over here to my color palette, and then I'm going to choose my color here by copying this hexadecimal value, and then back over here to my DIVI website. I'm going to click this row settings icon, click on background, and then I'm going to go to background 2 because that's where I need to add my background. So I'm going to paste my color in here, and now you can see that I've just added my color. Okay, so before I continue, I'm going to come over here to design, click on sizing, and then I'm going to come over here to gutter width. I'm going to set this to 1 because I need this text area here to be close to the image. So I'm going to drag this. Okay, so now you can see they're closer together. And then I'm also going to come over here to use custom width. And then I'm going to set this to 80% is fine. Equalize column heights. Okay, so now we can see that we have just added our background color and we've also added our text. But our text here does not look really good because it is very, the colors are very, very close together, so we can't even read it. So this is where now you come over here to your color palette. Now let's choose our color here. And this is where now you get to choose your light color. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here, save this, go back into my module settings, which is my text module, click on design, text. So here on the text, I'm going to change this and paste my new color. Okay, so here we can see the color now is much, much easier to read. And then I'm going to do the same for my heading text. So I'm going to come over here to my heading text, click on my colors, paste my color in here, and now it is much easier to read my colors. So I'm going to center this, and also I'm going to center my text here, like that. And then I'm also going to change my size. So I'm going to go to sizing, and I'm going to reduce the width of this to about, say, 60%, and then center it. Okay, so finally, I'm going to add some padding to the top. So this time, let me add 100, maybe even 150. Right, awesome. Let me save that. Okay, so now, do you see how the text and the background really looks nice and it's much, much easier to read and it's clean? Okay, so this is an example of how to use colors that work well together from the color palette. Okay, so let me know what you guys think, about this quick change that I've done and how I've incorporated all my colors from the color palette over to DIVI in real time to show you how this works together. So if you think that this is a nice way or a very good workflow, just add a 1 in the comments box so I can see. Okay, so I'm just taking a look now at the I've got 1 from Michael. Great info. Huh? She's from India. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Umar Siddiqui says, can we place gradient overlay on the image in column? Yes, we can. Yes, we can, and I will show you how to do that. Michael says, you always give me something new. Hey, that's great to hear. Thanks a lot for that. Really appreciate it. Awesome, awesome. Fantastic. Okay, so that's looking good. I can see some ones coming in. Brilliant. Excellent. So really, these are the steps that I take to when I design my websites. It's as simple as that. So I just go in there, I choose my color palette, I go into my into DIVI, and then I start applying these colors from my color palette like this. In fact, just to prove that these colors really work well, let me choose one more color here. Oh, in fact, I thought my desktop was showing. So let's go back to my desktop, and let me show you how we can actually choose one more color from here and add it. So I'm going to copy that. Let's come over here to my demo site, click on my settings icon, design. So I'm going to change my color to this. Right, so even that works, right? So heading text, I'm gonna come over here and paste it there. See? So even that color works. So this is how you use colors. Right, so I had a quick question here. So while I'm here anyways, let me show you how you can add an overlay onto this image. So I'm gonna come over here into my settings, and then I'm gonna click on background, click on gradient, click my plus button. So for your overlay to work, what you need to do is to come over here, choose your first color, and then for your next color, choose white, and then okay, and then next what you need to do is to go to the third tab where your image is. In fact, let me add my image from here. I'm going to upload my image. And then for your background image blend, this is where now you can choose your blending mode. So you can see here the blend has happened on the top. So you may want to reverse that. So what you need to do is to come back over here and just turn this around like that. Now you've added your blend. So right now I have an image in my in the background. So let me get rid of that. Okay, so in fact, let me do it from here. Right, so I'm going to add, I don't even know why I deleted that. Okay, so I'm going to add my image module. Add my image like that. Come over here to background. And then I am going to add my colors like that. Direction. Come over here to my image. And then my image blend. Set this to multiply. Okay, this is strange. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here. And this always happens when I'm doing something live. In fact, let me fix that. Now I am really curious why this is not working. Because this is supposed to work when I add my image blend. Okay, so I can see it happening here in the demo. Okay, so let's delete that. Okay. Oh, okay, I know what I'm doing wrong. So let me add this one more time. So image, come over here to background. So I'm gonna add my image as a background. So I'm gonna come over here, click this plus button, add my image like that. So we can see here, it's not really showing. So I'm gonna go in and fix that. And then here, I'm gonna fix my blending. So I'm gonna add my first color like that, add my second color. Okay, and then I'm going to save. Now I'm going to go in and add some spacing to it. So I'm going to come over here to spacing. Right, so you can see here I've added 200 to the top, 200 to the bottom. So I can keep adding more. Okay. Right. This is strange. And you know the crazy thing is, every time I'm doing it live, I always do something wrong. And this is a very small thing that I'm actually messing up on. Okay. Okay, let me revisit this. And I promise I will do it, okay? Right, so we've talked about color. I will come back and do the demo, the overlay. I've done it so many times before, but it's just crazy when I'm doing it live, something always goes wrong. Maybe it's the doing things spontaneously, and I'm also conscious of trying to get everything right as I'm doing this. Okay, so what I'll do is I am going to come in and fix it. Okay, Uma says it's not working, you spent 2 hours. No, I'll come back to it and I will show you. Yes, I will come back and do this. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. In fact, before we move on to okay, we've just covered the color, we spoke about the contrast. Let's move on to typography. Now, typography is also very, very important. So before we continue, I am feeling warm now, so I need to get rid of my jacket. So just bear with me as I do that. So I'm just going to get rid of my jacket. Okay, I'm back. Right, okay, so what we're going to do here is to talk about typography. So what I'm going to do, again, I am going to go to my Photoshop documents and show you, and let's discuss typography. Okay, so I've got a few examples that I've set up here already. So I have an image here of this lady, and let's play around with some text and let's see what works and what doesn't work. Okay, so here I'm going to start with this image here. Image is everything. Now, let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this image works? This text works with this image? I'd like to hear your thoughts. So if you think it works, just add a 1. If you think this text doesn't work with this image, just add a 2. I'm curious to see what you think about this text on this image. Okay, I'm just waiting for your information to come through. Okay, Michael says no. Okay, I can see a lot of twos. Okay, fantastic. I was hoping that you would say that. Now, the reason why that text doesn't work is because typography and text itself is a language, okay? It's actually the way you communicate. So let me show you what I mean by that. So back over here to Photoshop, I am going to just go back to my Photoshop document and show you what I mean by that. Okay, so here, let's change this image, let's change this text, and let's use this, okay? Now, is that better? What do you guys think? Is that do you think that communicates well with that image? If you agree, just add a 1. If you don't agree, just add a 2. I'm curious to see what you think. Okay, so again, I'm checking my the results to see. Okay, let me just go to the comments and see. Okay, I can see 1, 1, 2 is no. Okay, let me just answer this quick question from Kenston. Where do you steal your pics from? No, actually, I don't steal them. They're from a website called pexels.com. In fact, that's something that I was going to talk about in our next topic here about photography. Okay, now the reason why this text I have here works is because this works well with the image. And the reason why it works is because the image is very classy, and also it is nice, it's elegant, and you can read it much, much easier. Now, this text that we had before here is too bold, okay? That's the type of text which you'd use to, let's say, for massive signs. But when it comes to fashion or, things like that, the font that you'd use is like clean, slim, nice text. I mean, that looks more elegant. Okay, so that's why we're playing around with these. So let's choose another one. Now, this one. Do you think that this one works? If you were to use that text on this image. So if you think it works, just add a 1. If you think it doesn't work, just add a 2. Okay, I can see 2. Okay, so basically this doesn't really work because this is not communicating well with what we have here on the main picture. Now, the idea with typography is to choose the font that works with the project that you're working on, and also it has to do with what you're trying to communicate with that. So as you can see, typography has a place for it, so it's not something that you can use, every time, everywhere. Like this, again, this also works. You find this font used quite a few times, even in fashion magazines. There's a reason why it's used. It's elegant and it works fine. Now let's go ahead and choose another image. So here I have this stock image of these kids playing, right? So this could be say a fun day. And again here, let's add our colors. Right. So if we use this text here, again, that doesn't really work because it's too formal, right? You need something that's a bit more soft, a bit more playful. So what I would use instead is I would use this. Okay, that's much better. It can be used in a much better way, especially if it's to do with kids. And you can also see the way I chose my colors here is I've chosen colors that work well with kids. These are just basically primary colors. So this is how you would use your colors and also your fonts depending on what project you're working on. In fact, let me take a quick look if there's any okay, right, so this is how it works. Now, when it comes to, let's move on to our next thing. Now, if you're just joining us, this is our live show happening every Saturday afternoon, and where I get to share my tips and techniques on how to design awesome looking websites. So today we're just talking about 5 ways to become a better web designer. So the tips I'm sharing here are, or what that I've shared already, how to use contrast, color, typography, and now we're just about to go to the next thing, which is photography. So when it comes to photography, in fact, before I speak about photography, if you're just joining us and you're brand new to web design, I have a free course on diviuniversity.com. Go ahead and sign up for that free course. And also, if you'd like to learn how to design awesome looking websites with Divi, I have a course which has a 50% discount. So go ahead and check it out on diviuniversity.com. Or all the other links are all in the comments box below. Okay, so let's move on to photography. Now, when it comes to using when it comes to photography, photography is very, very important. In fact, what makes a lot of websites really pop is the type of fonts they use on their websites, or the type, sorry, I'm saying fonts again. It's just because I've just been talking about typography. It's the images. So let's go to apple.com, for example. Now, what you'll find is they take a lot of time to really take good pictures. So you can see here, this is very, very clean. It looks really, really beautiful. Okay, let's find another one. Product-based company, let's say Microsoft. It's been a while since I've been to Microsoft's website, but let's take a look at what they have in their store. Again, if you take a look at these photos, these companies spend so much money to get these photos taken, and this is what makes all this look really, really professional. So when you design your websites, you need to make sure that you use professional looking photos. Okay, so that's Microsoft. Let's go to Skype. I'm just picking up random websites here just to see what they have on their landing pages. Okay, before they had a large image here which showed people. Okay, let's go to the Beats website. Beats by Dre, Beats headphones. I'm just trying to look for good examples where I can show you. Okay, there again, you can see the way these photos are taken, and sometimes this could be 3D generated, but my point here is when you have good photos, it makes your website look very, very professional. Right, so the next thing I'm going to show you here is the resources that I go to get all my photos. So the first one is Pexels, okay? It's pexels.com. So this website has royalty-free images, which you can go in and download all these images and use them on your own projects, and you don't have to buy them. So this is a community-based website where people upload their photos, and you can go ahead and download these. So the really cool thing about this website is you can actually search for the type of photos that you need. So here I've just typed fashion, and now you can see that I've actually used this image and this image before on my project. So this is where I get all my photos from. The other website I also use is called unsplash.com. So it's unsplash.com. It's similar to Pexels. You can go in and it has all these royalty-free images which you can use in your designs. So this is where you need to come to download all your images. And if you do use your camera, make sure that you use a software like Photoshop or GIMP to resize your photos, because when you download these images or when you use them straight from your camera, these images are large, so you need to resize them and optimize them for the web. Otherwise, this slows down your website. So make sure you resize them. Okay, so the other website I use, so that's Pexels, that's Unsplash, and there's also Pixabay. So Pixabay is one of my favorites as well. And these websites are all similar. You can go in and download all these images and use them in your projects. Now, if you want to use some paid options, there are also some paid options, and there is iStock Photo. It's one of the most popular ones, but these are quite expensive. iStock Photo. Let me just, okay, there's iStockPhoto.com. Now, these images here are a bit more polished. So, okay, let's say fashion. Okay, so these are a bit more polished, but like I said, you have to pay these. And for example, this image right here costs £25. So why pay all that money if you have these free resources, or if you can use your camera to take your own pictures? But of course, it's up to you. If you have that kind of money, you can use iStockPhoto.com, and you can, search for your images. In fact, these companies like iStock Photo, they have a large database of images for you to choose from. So that's why you are likely going to find the image that you are going to search for if you go to this website. So that's the technique when it comes to taking to photography. Photography is what makes your website look very, very professional. Now here, let me show you something. If I go to, let me discard and exit. If I go to my website here, again, you can see that just by using this, these images, it just makes my website look really, really beautiful. Now, if I hadn't used these images and I just use some grainy stuff I get from my phone, it wouldn't look really, really nice. So that's why I prefer using these resources that I've just mentioned. Okay, so let's move on to, so that's photography. So I'm just going to check the comments to see if there's any questions. Right, I'm just switching my camera here. Okay, so Evanto Elements is awesome. Right, I haven't used that before, but it's something that I would like to take a look at and see how that is. So I'm going to check it out. Thanks for that tip. Okay, so let's move on to the final one. And now, before I talk about this, if you're just joining us, this is our Saturday live show where I talk about, where I discuss tips and techniques on how to design awesome looking websites using WordPress and Divi. And we also touch on Photoshop. So the final thing here is your grid. So the good thing we have here when it comes to the grid is Divi. Now Divi has a grid. So let me show you how that works. Okay, so I'm just going to switch over here to my computer. So here, if we go into our wireframe view, if we add a new section, so I'm just going to click regular. So when I talk about grid, this is what I'm talking about here. So you can have a single row, a single column, 2 columns, 3 columns, like that. So as you're designing your website, you need to make sure you utilize this because this is what makes your website well laid out. So by using these, it makes your layout look really, really cool. So let's say I come in here and let me add an image. So I'm just going to add the image. In fact, let me add something different from my computer. So I'm going to go to my downloads folder, select my image, like that. And then I'm going to add this image to my layout. Okay, I'm going to add my second one. Again, this is going to be an image. Add my second image. And then I'm going to add my third image. Now, one thing I've already noticed here is my image sizes are not the same. So this is one thing that you may want to fix as well as you are designing your website. Now, I'm just doing this fast because I just want to show you how we can use all these images together on your grid layout. Okay, so those two are the same size. So this one seems to be a problem. So let me see if I can fix this. So I'm going to come over here to upload and let's try and use this one here. Okay, so that's not the right size either. Okay, so I'm going to come back here to upload and let's just use, for the sake of this demo. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and save. And then let's say you want to add something below here. And this time you want to use this type of grid. So what you want to do is you want to drag your image. In fact, I'm going to clone this like that. Add the image into place. And then for my other image, I'm going to clone this as well and drag it into position like that. Okay, so you can see here that when we take a look at our grid, it actually works really well because this image here has taken these 2 spaces and it works really well. So when you design your websites, you need to make sure that you utilize the grid system because this is what makes your website look really professional. So let me drag one of these images here so I can add it all the way here to the bottom. Okay, so now we can see that our grid is actually working well. So I'm going to duplicate this just so that I can fill that space. There we go. Okay, so ideally this is how you want to lay out all your content in a grid system, because by using this grid it makes your website look very, very professional. Okay, so these are the 5 things that you need to implement when you design your website. So let's go through them one more time. Okay, so the first thing is contrast. So when we spoke about contrast, I was pretty much showing you how to make your text stand out on backgrounds or on images. And that makes your website read very well, and it makes it even look more professional. The second thing that we spoke about is color. So color can make or break your website. So if you don't use the color resources online, you know, that can make your website not look professional. And the resources that I shared are color.adobe.com and also coolers.co. So these 2 resources are very good in choosing your color palettes. But if you're one of those people that are like natural at choosing colors, I mean, perhaps you can just pick colors that work well together. But in my case, I like to be more precise, so I go to these websites and make sure that I have a color palette that I use throughout my whole website. And that is very important because it keeps the branding of your website professional. The third thing that we spoke about was typography. Now, typography is also very, very good because typography actually communicates. So if you're using a specific font, it has to work with what you're trying to, with the message that you're trying to convey, and also making that font really stand out from the background is also very important, and that takes us back to the contrast. The fourth thing that we spoke about is photography. Photography is very, very important because making your websites, making your images look professional. Making your website look professional by adding images is one of the key things, because right now there's no excuses why you shouldn't be using very good images on your website, because there are royalty-free websites which I've shared with you. One of them is Unsplash. We also have pexels.com. We also have Pixabay. So these are websites where you can go and download beautiful looking images that you can use on your website without even paying a penny. And also with our mobile devices now, we can also take pictures, which we can use on our websites. But the key thing in using your own pictures is to make sure that you take your pictures in the right lighting environment. I would say use some lighting if you're doing it indoors. Otherwise, your images are going to look very grainy. Or take your pictures outside, close to a sunset or sunrise. That's the best time to take your pictures, and that makes them look really well. The final thing that I spoke about here is the layout grid. The layout grid is very important because this is how you segment all your content on your website to make it look well structured. So these are the things that make you a really, really good web designer. Now, if you are just joining us, this is our Saturday live show where I get to show you how to design awesome looking websites using WordPress and Divi. And if you'd like to get started designing websites using WordPress, I have a free course on diviuniversity.com. All the links to everything I'm talking about here is in the comments box below. And also there's a discount for the Divi course, which again you'll find in the link below, or you can just go to diviuniversity.com. Okay, so over here, let me just check if I have any comments. So pretty much this is time now to round up our live stream. I've been it's pretty much almost an hour now that I've been live. So I guess I've covered everything that I wanted to cover in today's live stream. So catch me next week again as I choose a good topic where we can talk about something which can help us design awesome looking websites. Now, if there's any final questions, please do post them in the comments box so I can respond to them quickly. Okay, so it looks like we don't have any comments. Okay, so one more time, I'd like to say to everyone that tuned in today for the live show, thank you very much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it for that you've taken your time out on a Saturday to join me on this live stream. So thank you very much for tuning in. So next week, I'll have another topic which I will share with you. So in fact, before I close, I just got a quick question here from Claudia. And the question is, how many maximum colors do you think is necessary for use on the web? Right, so I would say use about maximum of 5 colors. And these colors need to be of different shades. And as I mentioned right in the beginning, when you choose your color palettes, make sure you have a really dark color for your backgrounds or for your text and a light color for that contrast. And also you need to have a complementary color which you can use, like, let's say, for your buttons or for something to really stand out. But I would say a total of 5 or not more than 5 colors is ideal when you design your website. Sarah says, can you restate a photo website? I'm not sure what you mean by that, unless you want me to, again, go through the websites that I go to for my photos. So if that's the question, I would say it's unsplash.com. In fact, what I'll do to make things easier, these resources that I've mentioned, I will link them in the show notes below so that you can just find them easy and just click them, because it's easier that way. Okay, so everyone's saying thanks. Awesome. Okay, so thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you go to diviuniversity.com. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, because that's where I normally do my updates and keep people up to date with what's going on and what's coming up. All right, thank you very much for watching, and have a good weekend. Take care.